Hi everyone, welcome to the channel Sluggers. I'm Anupam Mishra. I'll provide a more detailed introduction about the channel as well as myself towards the end of the session. Right now, let's jump into the error number 28 of the series 50 most essential grammatical errors for the XAT. However, I would like to first state that this is not just a random list of 50 grammatical errors that we have just come up with. There's in fact quite a logical process involved in creating this list, and the same process I've explained that in detail in a separate video, which you can access by clicking on the link on the top right corner of your video. Okay, so this diagram pertains to that. I've explained all of this in that video there. Okay, so you can watch it if you want. Okay guys, so let's start with error number 28. Now with this error we are moving on to the next punctuation, which is that of the semicolon. We completed the comma and then we discussed about usage of the apostrophe and now the semicolon. There are multiple cases involved here, and we'll look at each of the cases one by one. This is the first case that you are taking up in this installment. And the case says that if you have an expression which is made up of two independent clauses, okay, independent clause 1 and independent clause 2, then you can use a semicolon in between these two clauses. It is grammatically correct and apt to use a semicolon in such a case, right? For example, let's look at the first. Let's look at the second sentence. Okay, it starts with I saw a large tiger in the bushes. So that's your first independent clause. Okay, and then you have a semicolon, and then the next part says it was devouring a chicken, right? So that's the second independent clause. So I see 1 and I see 2. Okay, so it does follow the it does follow the format, right? So independent clause 1, independent clause 2, joined by uh, semicolon, right? So it does make sense, and hence sentence B will be considered correct. Okay, let's look at the first sentence now. It says I saw a large tiger in the bushes. So again, it's the same independent clause that we have here as well. Okay, I see 1. The next part, then now instead of a semicolon, which we had here, in this case you have a comma and then a coordinating conjunction, that is and, right? And then again you have the next part, which is it was devouring a chicken. So that will be your independent clause 2, right? So would you consider this sentence to be correct? Well, yes, this sentence will be correct, guys. In fact, this is a case that we study about in the first usage rule and the, of comma, right? That comma you do use a comma before a quadratic conjunction when the conjunction joins two independent clauses, right? That's what we studied in, I think it was error number 24, right? So yes, so both of these sentences are in fact correct. It's just the only difference is that in the first case, the the items which have been used are the comma and the coordinating conjunction. In the second case, they have been replaced by a semicolon, which by the way is another good way of understanding what the semicolon does, right? And in these cases, at least, the semicolon almost takes the place of a conjunction, okay, a quadratic conjunction to be particular. And another way to understand the idea of a semicolon is to a semicolon is basically comes somewhere between a comma and a period that is a full stop. It's not as final and as formal and uh, complete as a full stop. At the same time, it is not as low in intensity as a comma, right? It's somewhere in the middle, right? So yeah, that's your semicolon usage, the first case. Now we'll take up the second case in the next video, but at the same time, right now I do want to discuss a particular scenario, another scenario here, okay, which is about what do you do? Like, can you use a semicolon if you don't have both the clauses to be independent? If one of the clauses happens to be dependent, what do you do in that in such a case, right? So let's look at an example. Look at this here. First sentence here. It says that although he worked hard, right? Now, although he worked hard it's a dependent clause, not an independent clause. It's a dependent clause. And the next part says he did not win. That's an independent clause, right? That's an independent clause. So if you have a dependent clause before an independent clause, in that case, guys, you cannot use a semicolon. It will be incorrect to use, grammatically incorrect to use a semicolon. This is incorrect. So this will render the sentence A incorrect. Okay. Rather, if you still wanted to convey this, you could still convey this by saying that without using a semicolon, you could say that although he worked hard, comma, he did not win. Okay. You don't need a conjunction here because you already have the word although here. Okay. So this sentence will be considered, sentence B will be considered correct. But do know that dependent clause before independent clause, you don't use semicolon. Finally, an example for you guys to try. It says, if you don't trust me, let me know right now. Okay, so if it is correct, let me know in the comment section. If it is not, let me know what should be the rectified version of this in the comment section. Finally, guys, my quick introduction. I'm Anupam Mishra and I'm Lucknow alumnus. I have worked in the past with organizations such as Hotstar, UNICEF, Apollo TAS, IMS, etc. I've also worked with an academy as an educator in the past, recognized by their Johnny Ive Award. And I was regarded as one of the top VRC educators that they had. These are my CAT credentials, and Sluggers is basically my endeavor to plug in all the crucial gaps that I believe there are in the test prep industry, starting with the CAT exam. Okay, now, yeah, so that's about me. Do move on to the next era. Okay.